godfather of mock drafts, Mel Kiper, dropped his first mock draft of the year for the 2025 NFL Draft. So I want to run through with you guys and unpack his selection for the Dirty Birds at spot number 15. Welcome on into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Appreciate all of you guys watching with us. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. So with that being said, let's get right into it, where he has the Tennessee Titans taking Cam Ward first overall, followed by Travis Hunter to the Browns, Shedeur Sanders to the Giants. The Patriots snag Abdul Carter. No major qualms with any of those picks right there. Moving along, Mason Graham is a Jag. We got T-Mac going to the Raiders. Michael Williams from Athens goes up to the Jets. Another Georgia Bulldog, Jalen Walker, but staying in the Southeast with the Panthers. Will Johnson falls all the way to 9. He is a New Orleans Saint. We got Will Campbell going to the Bears at number 10. Kelvin Banks, another offensive lineman, to the Niners. Luther Burden, the Mizzou wideout, goes to the Cowboys. And now we make our way over to the Dirty Birds, where the 13th pick is Malachi Starks by the Dolphins. The Colts go with Tyler Warren. And Atlanta, drumroll please, selects Shemar Stewart, defensive end out of Texas A&M. So let's get to know Stewart first a little bit, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the pick. Here's what Kiper wrote. Expect to hear this name a lot more as we get into pre-draft events. Stewart still has some development ahead, but his athletic traits at 6'6", 290 pounds could push him up the board this spring. And this is what he's talking about. 6'6", 285, 290. We'll see what he weighs in at the combine, but he is a massive human being that moves like a 6'3", 250-pound guy. Like, he just has no business being that fast and that athletic while pushing 300 pounds. You'd expect that to be like a tree stump, a nose tackle in the middle. Oh no, he is very athletic, and he can bend, and he can move, and he can play outside. But what I don't understand is the development word. Development. We're talking like this is a guy who's been a starter for a year. That's not true at all. He's been a 3-year starter for the Aggies. He was a big-time recruit going to Texas A&M. And in 3 straight seasons, he put up 1.5 sacks. So I do agree with the thought process. Daniel Flick, who covers the Falcons, does a great job. He's also saying get familiar with Shemar Stewart, and he is someone who is going to benefit greatly from the NFL Combine. I personally have the mindset of you should make most of your draft evaluations up based on the actual games played in the fall. Don't let too much time passing allow things to creep into your head where you just start to kind of become your own devil's advocate because April is so far away that you build guys up and tear guys down because we have so much time on our hands. We don't just want to stick with the same opinion we had when the season ended. That's just boredom, more or less. Don't let boredom get in the way of a good evaluation you had after watching these guys play 10, 11, 12, 13 games throughout the fall. Now, my outlook on the Combine is it's a great tool to build guys up. At the Combine, you can find out someone may be way faster than you realize or test off the charts. But I'm not going to tear people down at the Combine. If I saw them run fast and play well in the fall, and they just had one bad day in their underwear running around in Indianapolis in February. Like, that should not be what we dictate our opinions on when we saw them play 12 games, and they looked great in 12 games, but once you tossed him in some Lululemon tights in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil in February, well, he wasn't as fast as I thought. Well, he was plenty fast when he was running up and down the field in September, October, November. Now, I know I've kind of gotten off track here, but I'm very passionate about the draft. I love the draft, and I feel like some people's just logic to the reason why they like certain prospects can be flawed. But let me know, when it comes to Stewart, and we'll talk more about him, do you want that to be the pick for the Falcons? Personally, no. I don't. I understand he's 6'6", 290, and he's got great athletic and, traits, and a coach is going to look at that and think, man, I can really mold something special out of this. But if he can't beat tackles in college football after 3 years starting, I see very little reason to believe all of a sudden when he gets to the NFL, he's going to go from 1.5 sacks to 10 sacks. So for me, it's too risky of a pick at 15. If he had 5 or 6 or 7 sacks, okay. Like, I can kind of workshop that a little bit. He's not a nose tackle, but he has the stats of a nose tackle, but he's being drafted to be a pass rusher. It ain't adding up to me. I'm passing. Now, I've got more on this and more reasoning as to why I am passing in just a moment. But first, I do have to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. You see, Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I love about Game Time is they have this all-in pricing option. What it does is when you toggle it, it shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. That way you're not hit with a monster bill at the end of searching for 30 minutes. No, with Game Time, you know what you're getting right from the start. So download the Game Time app today to take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Use code CHATSPORTS and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Shout out to Game Time. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, Stewart is going to fall in this bucket of athletic traits. No one is taking him because of the production he had in college, right? They are taking him for what he could develop into. And there are plenty of examples in history across all sports of that being a good bet or that being a bad bet. But if we're going to get specific here about developmental edge rushers going in the first 20 spots of the draft, like if you want to take a developmental guy in round 3, by all means, knock yourself out. But in round 1 and pick 1 through 20, you should be getting someone who you are confident is going to be a very good player at the next level. And I went back and I looked the last 6-7 years now of edge rushers who went top 20 that were viewed as developmental guys. Didn't have a ton of production in college, but the thought was in the NFL they could be coached up. Tyree Wilson, prime example of this, just 2 years ago by the Raiders. He's been a little underwhelming for Las Vegas. He's had difficulties just starting to begin with. Trayvon Walker, I think everyone was somewhat critical of the pick, and he's proven a lot of people wrong. Back-to-back 10-plus sack seasons. Probably wouldn't go 1-1 again in a redraft, but he'd definitely go top 10 in a redraft. But he also had 6 sacks his last year at Georgia, and he was a much more athletic freak than Stewart is. So he's kind of proving me wrong here, but he's not really in the same bucket as Stewart. Isaiah Simmons, he was a versatile guy at Clemson. He played a little safety, played a little linebacker, and the Cardinals just saw an incredible athlete and like, well, we'll find a good home for him. No, they didn't. Chasen went from LSU to the Jags. Great athlete. Was lacking some of the sacks. He still like 6-7 sacks his last year in Baton Rouge, but that obviously hasn't worked out. Marcus Davenport went to UTSA. He had some decent production his last year for the Roadrunners, but again, people saw a really good prospect, and we haven't seen that in the NFL. So, if you like traits, okay. I understand the draw to someone who's super fast, super strong, and just some good coaching can get the best out of them. That's not happening in Atlanta. That's the tough pill that I preached about before, and I'll preach about again. I do not have faith in this coaching staff, and more or less this entire franchise, for finding a raw edge prospect and coaching him up to be great. I believe other teams are more capable of that. I've yet to see it done in Atlanta. So I'm not in the camp of let's use the 15th overall pick on a little bit of a wish that our coaching staff can get the best out of this guy. A coaching staff that Raheem Morris, offense, defensive guy, he's a little bit of like a swirl, just a little bit of both. Jeff Ulbrich, DC, linebacker, not a defensive end. No. I'm out for so many reasons. If this was an episode of Shark Tank, I would have been out when they walked into the door, walked into the room. I would have come back in just so I could leave again. I would have been like the worst Mr. Wonderful ever. Out, in, out. Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. Okay. We're going to talk more about this entire draft conversation, but make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to look at who I would like to see the Falcons take in January right now, my kind of hot board, if you will, for the Dirty Birds. But make sure you join the channel. Help us reach 32,500 subscribers. So here are my top 5 guys for the Falcons. The first one's a bit of a reach. Will Johnson. I don't think he'll be there at 15. But he did just fall to 9 in Kiper's mock. So 6 spots off I don't think is too egregious of a reach. Like, I'm not going to put Abdul Carter on here. He's not going to fall to 15. But if anyone's about to comment down below, this is silly, he's not going to fall to 15. Did anyone think that no defensive players would go in the first 15 spots of the draft last year? Or Christian Gonzalez the year before that, someone we talked a ton about on the channel, would go all the way to the Patriots at like 18 or 19? This is the draft. Remember, anything can happen. But Will Johnson, I think, would be a stud corner to add to the secondary. I just think he's an overall incredible prospect. So he's number 1. But let's not, bank on our dream school. Let's kind of put together the next few guys here. I got James Pierce at Tennessee, number 2. Mykel Williams from Georgia at 3. And then Mike Green from Marshall at 4. I was watching a stupid amount of Mike Green tape and highlights before going to bed last night. And I'm falling further and further in love. I almost put him at number 3, but I'm not quite there yet. I probably will be, though, in a few weeks or months. You can look at the numbers these guys had, and I'm preaching production, and Mike Green's giving it. 17 sacks, 23 tackles for 84 tackles. If I should listen to myself, it should be Green. Now, when you go to Marshall and maybe you don't play the toughest competition, you don't take it with a grain of salt, but you look at it 2 to 3 times. And once I look at it 2 to 3 times, I might stand by I might improve my ranking on him. But for now, I'm firmly putting him in my top 4. Basically my top 3, because I don't think Johnson's really going to be there at 15. And then at number 5, you might not expect this, but I don't know. What about Tyler Warren? I know that no one's thinking tight end for Atlanta, but no one was thinking quarterback last year. And Warren is a stud prospect. 1,000 yards for a tight end in 2024 college football is unheard of. Just the position is not used in college like it is in the pros. But the reason why I'm bringing up Warren is after the season ended, Terry Fontenot did not hold back when he said Kyle Pitts was underwhelming, underachieving for their expectations. So if they move on from Pitts, maybe they come to the conclusion of there's not a great edge rusher at 15 that's going to dramatically change our defense. Meaning if you want, just for example, let's do like NCAA ratings. The guy we get in round 1 at 15 might have like an 80 rating. And the guy we could get at round 2 might have like a 75 rating. That's a 5-point drop. Whereas Tyler Warren has like a 90 rating. And the tight end we could get in round 2 is like a 60 rating. I picked some volatile numbers, but I'm just illustrating the point of what if they reach the conclusion of there's not some world-class defender available to us in the middle of round 1 that's going to dramatically change our defense. So if we can't produce a much better defense because we're not picking early enough, then let's make sure no one outscores us. And a great way to ensure that is by adding Tyler Warren to this offensive core and getting Robinson, London, Warren, and Penix all clicking. Just going to put that out there. I have him at 5, just as a little bit of a tickler. Before we get on out of here, shout out your city for me in the chat. I always enjoy seeing where everyone tunes in from. It's also a great way for me to know who watches all the way to the end of the video. So scroll on down, shout out your neighborhood.